Hello, my friends. Zenith, this is your host, ET, and this is my first time going live on YouTube. Give me one moment and I'm going to go live on Instagram as well. So, uno momento, por favor. It's been quite a challenge to get all of my technical stuff together. Okay, we got a couple different cameras. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Zenith, this is your host, ET, and I'm going to go live for the first time ever right now. And I'm going to be speaking about this new moon that we just had a few hours ago in the sign of Gemini. So, even though the moon at this point now has moved into Cancer, a few hours ago, the sun and the moon came into their moonfully alignment, and we had the new moon. So let's talk about the new moon. New moon is an excellent time to set new intentions. This is the time to make a list of things that you're calling in to your world, to your life. The full moon is a good time to release, to burn away things, to let go of what isn't serving us anymore. And the new moon is an excellent time to call in whatever it is we want more of. Okay, so whether that be more genuine relationships, or perhaps, a new place of dwelling, or, a purple elephant, whatever you want. New moon, as far as ritual magic, initiation magic, is an excellent time to call this in. I know I'm switching between cameras. We're going live on several different platforms, so just bear with me. This is my first time to do this, so we're working out the kinks. Okay, so with that said, I encourage you to explore some of the things that you would like to call in to your life and make a list of them and set that intention. New moons are all about new beginnings. This has been a highly transformative time. I mean, everything that we've been going through really the past 5 years, but I think the past 2 months and the past 2 weeks especially has been quite significant. Okay, so let's talk about Gemini, because that's where the new moon was, approximately around 26 degrees Gemini in the tropical system. So Gemini is ruled by planet Mercury, which is in charge of our communication, our analytical mind, our intellect, our language, our thinking abilities. Like I said in my Mercury video, which you should go find and watch, Mercury is the only god that can move to the underworld as well as heaven. So what is that? That is actually a representation of the mind and how the mind can travel anywhere. With your mind, you can go all places. Okay, so Mercury is our ruler for this new moon, even though the moon has ingressed into Cancer as of now. So let's look at Mercury, because this is the desposit of this new moon. Mercury is currently sitting at 12 degrees Gemini. And let's take a couple steps back here, because in 2022, we had 8 months of Mars in Gemini. So we had this huge Martian retrograde, situation happening in the sign of Gemini. And basically what's happening now is Mercury has finally caught up to the shadow phase and the territory that Mars has, been exploring in that 8th month time, which was a powerful time. And so now, a couple weeks after Mercury retrograde, we have Mercury crossing this same territory. And what does that mean? Sorry, guys, over here. That means that Mercury is giving us the opportunity to process, to have a little bit of introspection, a little bit of introspection, a little bit of space and time and um, the mental capacity to introspect and to reflect and to process all of the things that we went through with that Martian retrograde, which I don't have exact dates in front of me, but that was an 8-month period starting last year, around just after, I think it was just after Halloween, perhaps, is when the retrograde started. So don't quote me on the exact time and date. I do not have that in front of me. But so this moon is really asking us to reflect on that time, what was going on, what we were thinking. I mean, Jupiter was in Pisces with Neptune, so there was a lot of, you know, kind of lofty idealism going on that might have been a little bit too good to be true. The imagination ran wild, so that is definitely just a small part of that Mars retrograde. So once again, Mercury as the desposit of this new moon, which represents the analytical mind, is allowing us to take some introspection. It's allowing us to take time to reflect on all that Mars showed us. It's basically kind of giving us some intellectual closure, and perhaps even we're communicating that with people. Okay, so moving on, a couple of things with this new moon that really stick out to me is if we look at all the planets, first of all, Pluto, which is such a heavy hitter, has retrograded back into Capricorn, where it's been the past 20 years or so. So I think we're all feeling that intensity of Pluto finally going back into Capricorn, where it did quite a bit of damage. And that's going to be true for the rest of the year. We're already halfway through 2023, so time is moving very quickly. So that's once again going to give us even more insight and closure in some of the themes that we've been dealing with that Pluto in Capricorn. And, that has to do with establishments, that has to do with government, that has to do with Capricorn, which is basically structure, Saturnian structure of society. I would say, anyway, so moving on, another huge astrological transit that is fresh, that happened, I believe, yesterday or the day before, is Saturn finally going retrograde. So Saturn's been transiting Pisces the past 3-4 months, maybe more, for several months. And, I've been loving it. It's exposing a lot of spiritual frauds, a lot of, people who pretend to be something that they're not. And now Saturn at 7 degrees Pisces has slowed down to its station and is now moving backwards. So I don't know about you, but that's where we're getting all of this heaviness that we're feeling. There's so much, uh, sobering heaviness that has been going around, at least in my own personal life, that I believe is very due to both Pluto retrograding back into Capricorn and especially that Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So those of you with Saturn early degrees Pisces that are going through your Saturn return, watch out, because you are due for a couple of more strikes of Saturn. In my opinion, I think this transit is a lot lighter than where it's been the past, few years transiting Capricorn and Aquarius. So with that said, be prepared for things to get real And for, this is a very transformative time. So call in what you're calling in with this new moon and realize that these are some very heavy transits that are occurring now. Let's see what else. I think it's very significant that the nodes will be shifting very soon. The North and the South node give us about a 2.5-year period of the themes of what is going on in the collective. And for the past 2.5 years, they have been in the Scorpio-Taurus axis point, which represents more or less values, material possessions, land, as well as transformation and, overcoming control, power dynamics, this kind of thing. And so we'll be shifting into the Aries Libra axis, which is much different than Taurus Scorpio. In the Aries Libra axis, we're dealing more with self, especially because the North Node will be in Aries. So we're dealing with self, and we're dealing with inspiration, we're dealing with passion, we're dealing with drive, we're dealing with sexuality, we're dealing with individualism. And, we might be moving away from people pleasing, from, being passive, being wishy-washy, not making concrete decisions, all things Libra. It's like we're kind of letting go of caring what people think, and we're coming into more of a time that is glorifying the self. A time of courage, a time of exploration, a time of pioneerism, if that's a word, a time of self-exploration with Aries in the North Node. And, it will take a while. Like I said, this is a 2.5-year transit. It will take a while, but eventually asteroid Chiron will be conjunct the transiting node, which is going to be amplifying healing for the entire collective. Okay, and that's a powerful wound. It's known as the wounded healer. That's where we are wounded, but therefore have wisdom, for others and ourselves. So I think this is going to be quite a sensitive time, but that won't be happening for a while at least. But we'll feel that leading up to it, leading up to the Chiron North Node transit. North Node is basically an amplifier, and any planet that's within its vicinity is going to be amplified in that Rahu or North Node energy. So expect collective healing of self. And, expect for people to come more into their individualism and to be a bit more courageous and adventurous. And, Aries is ruled by Mars, which is god of war. So it won't be surprising if there's conflict on the horizon, or if there is, trouble ahead. Aries is a fighter. God of war is not afraid to perform. So that puts the emphasis on Mars, and Mars is all about, battle, what it wants, glorifying the ego, this type of thing, if you're with me. And, moving along, besides the nodes transiting and that wonderful Jupiter entering Taurus, where it'll be for the next year, which is kind of allowing people to expound, amplify on what it is they believe in, what it is their personal values are. That is a huge spiritual amplification of Jupiter's transit through Taurus at this time, as well as Venus preparing for its retrograde in the sign of Leo, which is approximately 40 days and 40 nights. Venus has been in Leo for a couple weeks now, but it will remain there especially long. with this retrograde cycle. So a good rule of thumb is to see what house Leo rules in your personal natal chart, and that will give you some insight into this transit and how it will affect you personally. Besides that, I think this is about it for this new moon astrological update. Once again, excellent time to call in whatever it is you wish to see more of, to bring in, new intentions, to set intentions, to stick by them, allow them to manifest in your life. Use this new moon to, um, get the ball rolling on what it is you want, and allow this lunar cycle to help you bring that into fruition, to help you bring that into manifestation. And with that said, you guys, I hope you have a beautiful new moon, a beautiful month ahead. You can always reach out to me for readings, and I will be continuing my uploading of videos. Thank you all for all the support and the love so far. We are just getting started. So I will see all of you in the next video, and thank you for joining me for my first live stream on YouTube. Take care, everybody.